Hello everyone, and thank you for stopping by the chillest corner in the galaxy. It is I, your favorite Space Cat Fervors, here to wish you a happy new year and to teach you all how to hit 80% potency no matter what weapon you use. So it's actually really easy, right? You want to have as much potency as possible, because potency is king. Potency determines what damage you're doing at the end game and what content you could do. Without having enough potency, people will literally turn you away from steel purple triggers. If you do not have 85, 90% potency, they will frown upon you and send you away. So you want to get as much potency as you possibly can in order to get in on those steel purple trigger runs and get some good loot, right? So here's what you gotta do. You gotta figure out what you want to spec in. You have melee, precision, and technique potency, and depending on what class and weapon you use will depend on what potency you want to spec for. So for example, being a braver main that uses a katana, I had the spec for melee potency. So without further ado, let's get into the augments, the meat of the build. So here are the augments for melee, right? With the augments on the left, the price per on the right, with the total price for 40 of each on the far right next to it. So for example, my 4 are 3,000 per on average on ship 1. So 40 of them are 120k, so on and so forth, up to a total price of 680k Meseta. And you look over at precision, it's pretty similar. It's instead of melee, you have precision 4, you have Melra and Ratek instead of Melra and Meltek, Giga's precision instead of Giga's might, Pedestal instead of Didal Soul, and Ultra Creator 3. Actually, if you look at Ultra Creator 3 over here, it's the same. Ultra Creator 3 goes on all 3 of these builds because it stacks all the potencies. Very easy to get, very cheap augment. So it is key to this build. You might notice that tech and precision cost less than melee. That is because melee weapons are greater in number than tech and precision. Therefore, it is more to spec into melee if you're shopping for augments than it is for precision and tech. If you're specking for melee, I suggest grinding harder than you would if you were going for precision or tech, because precision or tech, you can get away with spending a little bit more on augments and getting a little bit more for your Meseta. Yeah, so there's that. I'll go back to melee again. Melee, precision, tech. Just pause the video, screenshot what you got to screenshot, right? And write it down. Do whatever you gotta do to get the thing. Now most of you will not be spending the total cost. That's if you grind no augments and just buy all augments. What's probably going to happen is you take the total cost, cut it in half. You'll probably grind about half your augments naturally, and spend the other half in the market buying them. So for 560k, cut it in half, that's actually 280k, so on and so forth, right? Now on to the weapons. Now the weapons I'm featuring today are Kouklophis and Tenebrous, right? And the armors, although not listed on screen, are Eclair armors. Eclair armor is a good armor for this build because it offers the most DPS potential, and they're very cheap on the player shop. They drop very easily from Gigas and Recons as well. Eclair is very easy to get your hands on. But we're talking about weapons right now. Kouklophis versus Tenebrous. Honestly, it's not a matter of versus, but a matter of you should get both. Focus on one at first, but definitely try to get both. I focused on Kouklophis first, and that's my main weapon, right? It's an Infernium weapon, so a lot like Kaisar in the snowy region, which name totally just left my brain because I'm stupid. But you know, it's this region's answer to a grindable weapon. So you grind out your Infernium. 15 Infernium gives you a basic one. 200 Infernium gives you a fixed attack one. It's unlock potential does more damage to dolls, so it's situational in the fact that it'll do more damage to dolls, but because of its raw attack being greater than Tenebrous, it'll do better in more situations than Tenebrous will do. Now, Tenebrous is easier to get. It's a seasonal weapon, 8,000 seasonal points, boom, it's yours, 4 augments of 5 already on it, you're good to go, right? You can get it as a drop or from the personal shop. Don't buy it from the personal shop. It's not worth. It's just not worth. Just get it as a drop, get it from the seasonal point shop. If you get it as a drop and you get a fixa, more power to you. Tenebrous with the right fix on it, that being Fix of Vital level 3 or higher, is extremely valuable because of its potential, which is a critical rate increase. So Fix of Vital is a critical rate increase fixa. And then with your Tenebrous augment, even more critical rate. The Tenebrous weapons offer extremely high value to critical rate and critical rate builds. So keep that in mind going into this, right? This is why I say you want to get both, because Tenebrous is going to do better against seasonal enemies and enemies with the ice, and will perform less so in, you know, a situation where it's not a seasonal enemy and it's not enemies weak to ice, but its critical rate could still carry through some scenarios. So if you want to get the Tenebrous first over to Kouklophis, feel free to. Honestly, you can't go wrong with either or. I say get both when you get the chance, but the spec one for now. For those of you spec into Kouklophis first, I'd recommend exchanging a 15 Infernium for the basic weapon, upgrade the weapon to plus 50 enhance, which fortunately, by the way, for Kouklophis, Tenebrous, and Eclair, there is no limit break required. Everything's limit breaked already to 50, so you just level up to 50, right? So just get that level to 50, get your 5th augment slot, affix your augments, increase the potential to level 4, and then save up your 200 Infernium for later, right? Because you can still buy a Fixa 3 attack Kouklophis later and transfer said Fixa to your equipped Kouklophis afterwards, right? So for example, it has to be, by the way, 2 weapons of the same type, that'd be identical weapons. So I have a Kouklophis Katana. Let's say I got it for 15 Infernium. Later on, I saved it to 200. Bought the Fixa 3 one. You could take the Fixa 3, put it on the Katana you already had, because they're identical weapons. It'll destroy the Katana that had the Fixa 3. Obviously, you're feeding it to your current Katana, but it gives it the Fixa. And it's for the low cost of whatever the Meseta was. I didn't actually track the Meseta cost on that, but really, in the long run, you're really just spending 15 extra Infernium. It's not a bad cost, really, especially because Infernium is currently in the seasonal shop. So do keep that in mind. That could help. You can actually get a total of 200 Infernium from the seasonal shop. So if you have the points to spare, by the time you're watching this video and you want to just do it that way, go for it. More power to you. Now, the Tenebrous is so easy to get. It's also so easy to set up. If you get it from the seasonal shop, right? Enhance it to plus 50. Affix my 4 into it. That's it. Don't touch the weapon after that until the seasonal event's over. Seasonal event's over. You take the seasonal augment. I cannot for the life of me pronounce the name of it, so I'm just gonna call it Season Winter Fresh. Okay, that's what I'm calling it. It's the Winter Fresh augment. There you go, my favorite gum, and it's now an augment. so take your Winter Fresh augment after the seasonal event, right? Keep it for the whole seasonal event, but when it's over, get rid of it. It's useless. During the seasonal event, it gives you more potency, more critical rate, and more guard against seasonal enemies, right? Get rid of it after the seasonal event. Replace it. Also, when you get a chance, replace Triple and Vardy Soul with the Dualble and the Soul Augment of your choice. So, for example, me having Tenebrous Katana, I replaced Triple with Meltech Dualble and Vardy Soul with Didal Soul 3. Didal Soul 3 and Meltech spec directly into melee, whereas Triple and Vardy spec into all 3, and most augments that spec into all 3 give less of a potency increase than an augment that specs into 1 or 2 over all 3. So keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind when you're speccing. That's why I don't recommend doing a dual stat potency build, because you're just gonna lose out overall DPS in the long run doing that. Don't do that. Also, do not delete Ice Exploit 2. Keep it. Tenebrous is an ice weapon. Ice Exploit 2 gives you an extra 4% potency to enemies weak to ice. You always want to keep that in Tenebrous. And again, even when the seasonal event's over, because of its potential of increased critical rate, the Tenebrous will do very well, especially a Fixa Fatale Tenebrous. You'll get a lot of critical hits off with that. So do not sleep on Tenebrous. It is a good seasonal weapon. Probably one of the best to ever come out in this game. Speaking of Dualble Augments. Dualble Augments are a bit of a special case in this build. For several reasons. The main reason being, you have 3 Dualble Augments. You have Melra, Meltech, and Rawtech, right? And you could tell by the names which of the 2 potencies they boost. Melra is melee and precision, Meltech is melee and tech, and Rawtech is precision and tech. Very obvious there. Now, you could swap out either or, depending on what you're specking for. So again, taking the Katana as an example, I equipped all Meltech to my weapons and armors, but I could have done Melra if they were available to me or cheaper. I just chose Meltech for my own personal reasons because it was A, cheaper on the market at the time, and B, since I use Force as a subclass, it does give me a little bit more usability in my Force, but that's a story for another day, right? The second reason why I've listed Dualble Augments with an asterisk on the list is because you could actually get away with using Dualble 3s instead of 4s to save Meseta. That will save you about 120k to 160k Meseta if you bought an entire batch of 40 augments, right? the average price of Dualble 4 is about 5k on ship 1. It's 1k to 2k on ship 1 for 3s. And you can still actually hit above 80% potency with a Dualble Stat 3. The reason why I recommend Dualble Stat 4 is because of how often they drop, which I'm about to get into right now. We're to grind these things. So Stat and Dualble 4, so your melee 4, your Melra 4s, example, so on and so forth, they drop from enemies Hestia. They just kind of honestly drop like candy. You don't really have to turn off your brain to fight enemies, you'll get them, right? So those are your basic stat and your Dualble stats right there. And you'll get a lot of 3s as well from that too. You'll get a lot of Dualble 3s. So again, if you want to swap out 4s for 3s to save Meseta and time, you can do that. You'll still get above 80% potency. The exact number, I don't know because I didn't do it. But because of the end potency, which you'll see at the end of the video, you are not going to get below 80% potency if you swap out that one. Now, Giga Stat 3, they drop from Malevolent Giga enemies and Recon Giga. It's the best way to get those, and also to get the Dualble and the Stat 4s, is to go to the Dryzen plant and just find the most popular room, do the Giga Recon farm. Just farm those all day, jump them with, you know, the other 31 people in the room. You'll get a bunch of Infernium, which you need anyway. You'll get Augments, you'll get Stat 4s. You might even be lucky to get Giga Stat 4s, but this is where you're going to get a lot, and I mean a literal boatload of Giga Stat 3s. If you get a Giga Stat 4, you could either sell it for a ton of Meseta if you want, or keep it for later on, because you are going to want to eventually, somewhere like later on, we're not going to cover that in this video, but you do want to replace Giga Stat 3 with Stat 4 when you get the chance. So keep that in mind. All Circuited 3, easiest thing to get, honestly, in my opinion. It's so easy to get, because you can get them at deck space. It has to be at nighttime, and you have to fight altars. Alright, those are the 2 stipulations, but other than that, you go to a room with 8 people in it, you do PSC burst, you will get a ton of Secreted 3. Heck, you might get enough Secreted 4s to use a couple of 4s instead of 3s on your build. That is very much possible. 3 is just the baseline. If you get enough 4s, or if you have enough Meseta, buy 4s. 4s are not super expensive, but they're too expensive for me to list in a cheap augment guide. Right? They're about 20k per augment right now on ship 1. So if you want to sell them too, you can. I'd recommend saving them because they're very easy to get, and you will end up using them on your build later on anyway. Now, the Soul 3s! We got 3 slides dedicated to Soul 3 on its own, because the Soul Augments are a little bit more tricky. You have to farm them from certain enemies. Fortunately, all those enemies can basically be found in Alio and the combat zones. You go to level 60 combat zone, and you're good to go. So let's start with the Tidal Souls, which is the melee soul. By the way, you'll have noticed I've chosen souls, Tidal, Petas, and Next souls. These souls are specifically souls that not only boost melee precision and tech, but also increase PP. You can get other soul types as long as they meet the requirement of boosting the exact potency you need. So for example, if you want Dust Soul 3, you can actually go and get Dust Soul 3 instead of Tidal Soul 3 if you prefer HP over PP. I prefer PP. Most people I know prefer PP. So I listed the augments that were cheap to get that upped your PP as well as your potential. So here's Tidal Soul. You have to kill Tidal axes and swords to get them. They can be found in Alio combat zones. Here's the Petas ones. You get them from killing Petax enemies. Again, you find them in the Alio combat zones. And the Next Souls, which again, Alio combat zones. Boom, there you go. Technique. So there you have it. Tidal is melee. Petas is precision. Next is technique. Petas will be the easiest one to get. Next will probably be the hardest because the dragon doesn't like to spawn very often. So just keep that in mind. Fortunately, Next Soul 3s are not that expensive at all. Especially because you get them a lot from the UQ that drops. You seem to get a lot of Next Souls from there too. You could also, if you're very patient, hold on to Next Soul 4s from the UQ for Next Vera. And that's a good way to get those. I believe Pedestal is, you can get them from, I think, the other UQ in Alio. That might actually be I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But for the very least, Next Soul 4s, you can actually get those doing UQ. So I will leave a link, by the way, to all the augments, all the soul augments, just all the augments in general in the description. I will also leave a link to a augment calculator as well as a resource map. I'm going to leave links to all these things here to help with farming, so you guys don't have to worry and be lost on where to find things. I'm going to help you guys out, right? So here's everything added up. This is the fruits of our labor, right? If you follow all the steps listed and you either grind and or purchase stuff off the market, you will end up with 86% potency. That's if you get stat 4, Dualble stat 4, Giga stat 3, Soul 3, and also Creator 3. Now, if you do not get your Dualble 4 and you go Dualble 3, you won't have 86%. You'll probably have about 82, 83%, right? That's still good. That's still above 80%. You're still hitting for a lot of damage, right? So this specific build you see right here, the Kouklophis machine guns, the Eclair armor, I actually purchased those today and spec'd them out today. It is really easy to do. And it cost me way less money than I expected. I expected it to be cheap, but I didn't expect it to be this cheap, honestly. And mind you, I've already grinded for half the augments. So like I said earlier in the video, you'll find yourself, at least for the cost of augments, only maybe spending half of that price on the market. Now, this is a very free-to-play friendly farm. And the reason why I say that is because in about a week's time, you could very easily, with minimal grinding, get to 1,000,000 Meseta just from your weekly task and just from like combat zones and such alone. You can easily get 1,000,000 Meseta raw. So at the most, it should take you no more at your laziest 2 weeks to reach this potency from nothing, right? Some of you will probably do this in a day or two. Like, it is really easy. If you dedicate several hours to grinding and raising Meseta, doing your weeklies and whatnot, you will without fail hit 86% potency. You will need a minimum of 1,029,000 Meseta though in order to do this. And that's if you purchase no augments. And the reason for that is, of course, it still costs money to weapon enhance. It still costs money to affix the augments. It still costs money to unlock potential. A lot of money, 800k actually. We're about to break that down in the next slide. And like, I think that's it. I think that's, yeah, that's it. 1,029,000. So without further ado, let us go to that slide and take a look at it, right? Here's the final average cost on ship 1 as of the first day of the new year. Now, mind you, this is an average. This is not the best. This is not the worst price. In my opinion, the worst case scenario price you'll spend is still less than 2 million. At most, it's 2 million. And that's even on ship 4. I noticed ship 4 tends to be more expensive than ship 1, and ship 2 tends to be cheaper in price of things than ship 1. Ship 1 seems to be about average in terms of price. So it's a good ship to base like these average prices off of. So just keep that in mind. If you're on ship 2, you'll probably spend a little less. Ship 4, you probably spend a little more. But your baseline prices, you can see here, 1,029,000. Everything in green is what you're going to spend on. Well, Eclair armor, actually, if you cut that out, we can save 9,000 Meseta there. So really, it's only 1,020,000 Meseta. But because Eclair is so cheap, Eclair is literally 1 to 5k Meseta in the shop, depending on what ship you're on. You might as well just pick up all 3 from the shop. Heck, pick up 9. You have 3, 1 for each type of damage. That's what I did. I have 9 right now, and I've spec'd out melee and precision. I just got spec out tech now, and I'll have 80% potency in all 3. So looking at this final slide here, I've broken down everything, right? So for those of you who might be confused at the information given here, so the first line obviously is the Eclair armor, just covered that. The second line is your weapon and your unit enhancement. So from the math I did from doing it myself, you need 10 plus 30, not plus 20, plus 30 prim gold sword. You can get those from the level 35 yellow trigger in Alio. You can get a gold one and actually a silver one, but don't worry about the silver one. You'll only worry about the gold one here. 10 gold weapons, gold swords, and then 30 gold armors. 10 for each of your Eclair armors. And since it's 50,000 to fully enhance each one, that's a total of 200,000 for your 3 armors and your 1 weapon. 250,000 if you do both the Tenebrous and the Kouklophis. I only counted 1 weapon here since most of you are probably going to go for 1 now before the other. So there you go. And then your weapon potential unlock. This is where the grind really comes in. You cannot avoid this grind. Except for the seasonal shop having everything here available for now. But if you're watching this video after the seasonal shop, grind! 800k Meseta. 170 photon chunks, 70 monomite, 70 dualmite, 70 trinite, 70 tetracite, 70 pentacite, 100 hexakite, and 5 NEX cubes. That is a lot of materials. Fortunately, the seasonal shop has all these things right now. You might as well go pick up now. You have from the making this video to the next 10 days to do it. You better do it. Hurry up, it'll be gone forever. And then obviously you're a fixed price of 5,000 per weapon unit for a total of ×4 for 20,000. That's where the random 20,000 comes in that total. And boom, there you have it. 1,029,000 for your average price for the full upgrade without the cost of buying any augments. So if you grind all of your augments, you don't buy a single augment, you still have to spend a minimum of 1 million Meseta and some pocket change, which is again easily doable in a week for a free-to-play player. You just do your weeklies and you grind for like 2 to 3 hours in Retem Alnoth or Dex Plant or Dex Base. Boom, you have raw Meseta from that alone. Now, everything in yellow is if you say, screw it, I ain't grinding for anything, I'm purchasing all of my augments. So, again, precision attack is cheaper, 560k, melee, 680k. That makes your highest average upgrade cost, if you go full money route, 1,589k Meseta to 1,709k Meseta. Again, these are averages. You're probably going to spend less than that because you're probably not going to spend that much on augments. You're probably going to grind at least half your augments. So you're looking at maybe about 1.25 million Meseta spent, right? And you could also save 120k to 106k Meseta again, swapping your Dualble 4s for a set of Dualble 3s, right? So you'll still have 80+% potency, you just won't have 86%, and you won't do as much damage. So I recommend the 4 over the 3 any day. One last thing before we end today's video and send you all off to have a wonderful new year, right? We have to show our work, just like in school. So here's my work in action. You see my Kouklophis machine guns have all the augments I said that they should have, and all of my armors have the augments I said they should have. And in the bottom left corner, 86.1% potency. Boom, there you go, done and done. Now, as for the Tenebrous katana, or machine gun, my bad, my favorite main is showing, you can see that we're actually at 78%, right? So is that it? I lied. Did I clickbait you guys? It's not actually 80%. No, it's 80%. Let me show you how and why. So if we go over here, right, to the top right corner again, you see Season Winter Fresh gives you 5% potency to seasonal enemies on top of the critical hit rate and damage reduction you get. And also Ice Exploit gives you 4% potency to enemies weak to ice. This is why the Tenebrous weapon is very situational. But the unlock potential, which I didn't unlock the potential, oh my god. But the unlock potential makes it even more useful in the long run because of that critical hit rate increase. This weapon is going to slay almost anything, even non-seasonal enemies, like because of the or like non-ice enemies, I should say, like because of the critical hit rate to seasonal enemies. Once this event is over, though, you definitely want to get rid of Season Winter Fresh and just replace it with Ultra Kuda 3 or something, right? Because this augment is in particular some useless. Never get rid of Ice Exploit 2. I've covered this before, but just to rehash. And as you can see, I already got rid of Triple for Rotek 4, and Pedestal 3 has taken the place of Artisoul. So that's why I'm at 70%, not 75%. But even at 75%, if you take that and add 9% onto it, that's 84% right there. That's still doing a lot of damage, not to mention the critical rate that's going to make you hit for a hell of a lot more. Do not sleep on Tenebrous, guys. It is a good weapon, and it will be for a long time to come. So that's it. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the Chill Corner and for checking out this video. If you want to see more content, make sure to check out my Twitch. I'm sure you can tell by the format of my YouTube videos. I am a Twitch streamer first, YouTuber second. I'm trying to break into YouTube. So if you guys have any constructive criticism you want to leave in my comments, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Go to my Twitch, talk in the chat, go to my Discord, leave a thing in the PSO2 section of Discord. I check everything when I can, and I'm actually pushing for content creator on Twitch as we speak, so I need 15 plus average viewers. So make sure to leave a lurk there when I stream when you can, and check out any of my other videos. I got another video detailing the Steno farm and another cringe video that probably should exist but does. So check those out. And again, I love you guys. I will see you all in the next video and in the chill corner. Be safe, take care, have a wonderful new year, and make sure to love yourselves and your family and friends. Till next time, bye-bye.